Good morning, everybody. Or afternoon, depending on where you are. Who knows? Maybe it's the middle of the night. I don't know. But typically on this channel, I am trying to develop content that engages with texts and our social reality in a way that avoids, well, Twitter. I am, typically annoyed by videos about tweets and videos about other content creators. Especially annoying, especially if they're negative, especially if they're a pile-on. All of these things, the discourse. I don't consider Twitter a discourse, but I did see something today that I thought was worth actually talking about. So let's talk about it. It's on Twitter. It's not a person who I would consider on the left because you're not on the left if you don't at least support Bernie Sanders as the bare minimum. I'm sorry. You could say, oh, well, I like, Elizabeth Warren, or I like it. All right, well, then you're not anti-capitalist and you don't really understand the stakes of the situation that we are in. If this is all just a symbolic, tokenistic thing for you, welcome to the channel. I appreciate you stopping by. But I don't expect you to stick around because I'm producing content for people who are, in general, pretty disillusioned and fed up with the fact that most people, the majority of people in this world, do not have the time, energy, or attention for their family, their friends, or even to get, healthy food on their tables because of capitalism. It's because of capitalism. It's because of empire. And it's because these are systems that exploit human beings for their labor, see them as nothing more than that, and reduce us to use values for their own personal gain. Their own. Who's they? The 1%. Is Bernie the best candidate for addressing this right now in the United States? Sure. Probably. I'm pretty sure that is the case. I think that Peter Coffin's most recent video makes that case. And in a certain sense, I've been with Bernie when I was more of a liberal. I've been with Bernie when I was more of a leftist. Bernie is the bare minimum for me to be able to take another person very seriously. Though I will say, if you have been treated rudely by people who were acting like bros and they were supporting Bernie, then my condolences, and I wish that was not the case. I wish that people would be a little bit more sympathetic to the fact that there's a lot of necessary knowledge lacking for most people who aren't already supporters of Bernie. Necessary knowledge that is lacking. What is that necessary knowledge of? Capitalism. Capitalism and the history of social justice struggles, not just in the United States, but in the world. These are things that there's a lot of misinformation being spread around about. And some of those people doing that misinformation spreading are just corporate shills. Others, maybe they just lack the necessary information for understanding why we need a serious overhaul of the existing situation. Why we need a Green New Deal and more. Why it's not enough. But what about Wall Street? What about the bankers? They're scared of Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, funny how the same corporate machines who were telling us that Biden was the only reasonable choice not too long ago are now saying Warren's the only reasonable choice because they're scared. Okay? Because they're scared. But what I want to show you is a tweet. So let's look at this tweet. I just think that it tells us so much. What are we looking at? If you look up Nate Silver, it says that he is an American statistician. An American statistician, which essentially means that you look at numbers and then you tell people what you think is going to happen. It's kind of like being a weather forecaster, except you're more like an astrologer, okay? Every time anything important happens, there are a bunch of people who said that thing was going to happen. if Y2K had actually brought the collapse of civilization as we know it, there were a lot of people saying that it was going to happen. If 2012 had truly brought like the kind of paradigm shift that all these people were saying 2012 was going to bring, then yeah, those people would have been right. But every day you have people who are like, oh my gosh, I've heard a voice on high and I've seen the future and I know what's going to happen. And either they say that they've looked at chicken entrails or they look at a bunch of numbers. And sometimes these numbers were collected from people only over the age of 50 through landline telephones. And then we're supposed to be able to tell from that data who's going to get elected. And other times there might be better means to get numbers. Other times they might better represent the actual voting population. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into statistics. If you don't trust statisticians, good. Especially if you are one of those people who's like, oh, but this statistician made a prediction and that prediction came true. It's like, oh my God. Marx has predicted every boom and bust cycle that has happened within capitalism. Yet every time a boom or a bust happens, people aren't going, Marx was right! See? He called it! It's just like Revelations in the Bible says that in the end times there will be wars and rumors of wars. Wow, what a prophecy. Wars and rumors of wars. That one's unfalsifiable because there's always wars and rumors of wars. So I guess we're always in the end times. But no, Nate Silver, this is the kind of guy who said Hillary would win.
Putting on the race right now.
So right now we have Hillary's about a 75 or an 80% favorite. We have different versions of the forecast you can look at. So here's how to think about it.
See, the thing is like there are people who hate Bernie, and who hate Bernie supporters even more. And for that, I'm not always too surprised because sometimes any fandom can have its noxious elements. Let's admit that, but then do the mature thing and focus on the better elements of any demographic, right? Like you, I'm sure. Like most people coming by to watch this video are obviously not the kind who go around harassing people just because they don't like Bernie. That I wouldn't do a video about, oh, someone doesn't like Bernie. Oh, someone makes ridiculous predictions. No, this is a lot. This is different. This is different. Let's try to find this tweet. He says, not sure Bernie should get credit for having more diverse support than last time, given that he has far less support than last time. Okay. First of all, I guess we need to see the data that says that he has far less support. But second of all, obviously, there are way more people running this time, which is going to temporarily fragment a lot of the supporters. Okay, but whatever. Then he says, a lot of voters have left him. White liberals have been particularly likely to leave him for Warren. So the residue of what's left is more diverse. This is one of those tweets that I had to it had to sink in for a minute for me to fully wrap my head around it. It was like, everyone lost their minds when Ilhan Omar said that we were hypnotized by these lobbyists who are for us spending ridiculous sums of money on basically supporting fascist entities. Okay. Because, that could be a dog whistle. That could be a dog whistle for anti-Semitism, and so everyone was like, oh, she must be an anti-Semite. Well, there's a lot of reasons that's foolish, but let's even just say, okay, maybe an apology is always in order if you used a dog whistle without realizing it. And for those who don't know, a dog whistle is when you use a word that normal people aren't going to recognize as anything beyond a normal word, but it rallies the racists in the population who are watching, or in the audience who are watching. So, all right, but residue is a fucking dog whistle. Residue. He just called everyone residue. The most diverse base of any candidate is Bernie Sanders' base. This statistician has his head so far up his ass, he doesn't even know that what he just said is egregiously classist and racist. Not sure Bernie should get credit for having more diverse support than last time, given that he has far less support than last time. A lot of voters have left him. White liberals have been particularly likely to leave him for Warren. So the residue of what's left is more diverse. So, of course, a few people got it right and came right back with, dude, there are still a dozen candidates in the race. There were 2 last time. Of course has an overall smaller share of supporters. You're an analyst, right? Right? Like, and I said, imagine the ignorance or cynicism not to factor this in. And when I say ignorance or cynicism, I want to be clear. This could very well be ignorance. He could have had a brain fart. You know, it could literally be something like that. Well, it's a brain fart that, while it's embarrassing, right? This is a little bit more than slipping up on your words. You're an analyst. You're known as a statistician. You're not factoring in there being more candidates. That seems absolutely absurd. But I say cynicism because he's a corporate sellout in the first place. These guys are like, I'm just trying to speak truth to power and everybody's getting so mad. And it's like, truth to power? No, dude, you are speaking on the side of power right now. Actually, I wouldn't even say that. According to Hannah Arendt, this isn't real power. Real power comes from people organizing collectively around shared goals and interests. You know, that struggle, that's power. He's on the side of coercive force. He's on the side of coercive, corporatist, statist force. He's on the side of the establishment that doesn't give a damn about anybody's opinion beyond their own personal gain and the spoils of capital. The spoils of capital is all these people care about, and their share. They want their share. They're not interested in everybody else getting their teeth fixed, getting the medical surgeries that they need, getting the medications that they need. Not interested. Scum. You're scum. You're residue to these people. You are residue to these people. Residue. For those who really, maybe residue doesn't mean anything to you. What is residue? Residue is the buildup on your stovetop that you scrape off. Okay? Residue is the stuff left over after the stuff that's worthwhile has been taken. Residue is also mold. It's rust. It's waste. It's scum. Yeah, okay, let's just talk about the actual definition of residue according to the dictionary. A small amount of something that remains after the main part has gone or been taken or used. A small amount of something that remains. Bernie has the majority of supporters right now. He has the most volunteers. He has the most working class volunteers. And those working class people are diverse. Those working class people are black, brown, gay, and disabled. He has the lion's share of the homeless. He has the lion's share. A small amount of something that remains after the main part has gone. Leftovers. You're leftovers to these people. Leftovers. That's what you are. You're fucking scum. Leftover scum. Superfluous, extra, unnecessary, worthless scum to these people. Of course, I want to be clear that what raises to my attention was Brianna Joy Gray, one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter. She is my favorite Bernie bro. She is a strong voice of reason. She's a woman of color. She was writing for The Intercept and for Current Affairs, and that's how I discovered her in the first place. National Press Secretary for the Bernie Sanders campaign. She's also the host of the Bernie Sanders podcast, if I'm not mistaken. She said, "What a weird way to say Bernie just made history by getting 1 million individual donations from the most diverse base in the race. And I was like, that's what I saw. And I was like, oh no, Brianna, what it? And then I read Nate's tweet. And she's changed her name to Residue for Bernie, which is amazing. Amazing.
That is amazing.
When everyone started calling Bernie followers Bernie bros, she was one of the quickest to be like, I'm a Bernie bro. Everyone's like, oh, you know, the Bernie's base is not diverse. Yeah. He had the majority of people of color under the age of 50, but I guess we only care about people over the age of 50. Give me a break. They hate us because they ain't us. It's lovely. Nate Silver tops Hillary's deplorables comment. No fucking kidding. No fucking kidding. Deplorables. Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. A lot of people voting for Trump were deplorable. But, you know, obviously, that's also a dog whistle for lower class, which is the issue with some elitist, corporatist shill like Hillary calling working class people deplorables. But look what happens when, even if it was true that Bernie had, a problem getting diversity in his base, which was not true for people under the age of 50. But let's just say that it was. It's undeniable that he has the majority of support, that out of any base, that his is the one that represents the most diverse kinds of people. That is absolutely undeniable. And so what does the statistician shill do then? Tries to be like, oh, but it doesn't count for as much because some white liberals, they wanted Warren. Well, who fucking cares what some white liberals wanted?
Are you kidding me?
And then I said, the leftover POC residue, the leftover people of color residue is such a disgusting way to characterize anything or anyone, much less the most diverse base of all the candidates. What the fuck, dude? And this is what happens when you can't divide up the working class along lines of race, sex, gender, or ability. When the working class says, no, we're not going to play that game. You want to use identity politics to divide us all of the time. But we organize around the things that fucking matter. The distribution of precarity across the different demographics that are most affected by inequality. And we take on the systemic causes of this unequal distribution, of precarity, of alienation, of early death, of homelessness. And then they try to pull this shit. They call us fucking leftovers. They call us fucking deplorables. We're fucking scum. It's true. I am scum. We're all fucking scum to these people. I'm sorry, but like... I can't imagine. I just can't. I mean, I can't even. Listen, working class people are diverse. Working class people, the more insecure they are, economically speaking, the more marginalized they've been, the more they are reduced to being seen as little more than a nuisance or as, at least a use value for a capitalist to exploit, or for a landlord to collect rent from, or for a banker to issue loans to. The working class is having a rough time. That's the whole fucking point. There is no one in a more precarious situation than the working class. We are useless to this machine, and it's looking to replace us with automation, with cheap labor that from people who don't have any rights whatsoever. These people, the issuance or respect of human dignity and rights, they see this as a threat. They see it as a threat to their power. They see it as a threat to their position in society. And they know that if they can't keep us divided, the United States, the empire with boots on the throats of over 150 countries right now, if it started to embrace our shared stake in survival, if the United States starts to embrace our collective shared stake in even having a future worth living in on this planet, much less during our own lifetimes, while we are being crushed under mountains of student debt that is fucking necessary to gain the knowledge to even make this place work. The medical bills, the expenses, the bankruptcies, the misery, the homelessness, perpetuated by the greed of those who think that billionaire is a category that should even exist. That think that human beings should be able to wield that much power and interest over other people. You didn't earn that. No one's earned that. You can't earn that much. But these fucking scum, they see us as the deplorables. They see us as the fucking leftovers. That's what the margins are. The marginalized, the working class, of color, of varying ability, fucking pushed to the edges, who have a way disproportionate propensity for bankruptcy and early death, for chronic illnesses that could be treated but aren't soon enough, and then we have to live with that for the rest of our lives. And they fucking play these games. They play these games where it's like, oh, but it's just not practical, you know? Oh, it's statistics. The statistics are telling us it's just not practical. Oh, Bernie's just not practical. Oh, he's too far left. Oh, he wants to forgive our student debt. And, oh, he wants to forgive our, health... Medical debt? You fucking piece of shit. No! Fuck that. Why do we have medical debt in the country, the richest country on the planet? And why is it the richest fucking country in the planet? Because we took the place of previous empires who fucking stepped down because that's a dirty place to be. To have your boots on the throats of 150 other countries. Right now. Oh, we're just helping spread democracy. Yeah, we're just helping secure our role as the richest country in the fucking world, and we can't even take care of our own while we are decimating other economies and fucking manhandling our way to the top, holding our spot just to push others down. Whatever. All for the sake of some billionaires who don't even consider themselves citizens here. They have their own fucking islands of wealth. They have their own mansions that... They have their own police forces. This guy's an enemy of the people. He's an enemy of the people. You can't fucking be lying like this and calling us leftovers. And be anything but an enemy of the people. Scum. Remember that. Next time one of these condescending libs fucking tells you it's just not practical. That our bare minimum, Bernie, is just not practical. Yeah, not having a future is not practical. Piece of shit.
We rot in our blood graves! You fucking scratch! Can't beat on me!
Like, follow, subscribe.